Hey everyone, in this video we are going to be graphing an inequality and then shading the correct region. Let's start off with an inequality. We have y is less than or equal to 2/3 x subtract 4. Now the main prior skill that you need in order to be able to graphing inequalities and shading them is the ability to graph linear functions. So if we wish to graph this as a linear function, we can kind of begin by just thinking about graphing y equals 2/3 x minus 4. So as long as you can graph this, I can help you get to this step here today. We begin by finding that -4 is our y-intercept. So we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and I make a little dot. We can also see that the number in front of our x, that's our slope value. Our slope is equal to 2/3. That means we're going to go up 2 over 1, 2, 3, up 2 over 1, 2, 3. It'll look like this. Here is the first time that something new happens with inequalities. At this point, you need to check to see if your inequality is a less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to. Because if it is also equal to, we're about to use a solid line. Now, I'm going to do an example here in a moment where you're going to see what happens if it's not a solid line. But in a solid line, we just graph it just like normal. And I'm just doing this by hand with a ruler, so it's a little wiggly, but that's okay. We end up with a line that looks like this. We know it's a solid line because our symbol was less than or equal to. The little line underneath means it's solid. The last thing we have to do, and please don't forget this step if you're working on these problems, because an inequality means we also have to shade the correct region, because it's not just the line that's correct, it's a whole side of this graph. So it's either everything above or everything below. In this case, it's y is less than or equal to, and that means it's going to be everything below, which means we look at this line and we go down from it. At any point, if you go to this line and you move down, this is going to be the region that we shade. Now we can double check this by testing a point. So if we test 0, 0, which we did not shade, if I fill in the point 0, 0 into this inequality, you would have 0 is less than or equal to 2/3 times 0 subtract 4. If you work this out, you get an answer of 0 is less than or equal to -4. But 0 is not less than or equal to -4. So this is false, which means if you want to double check your answer, you double check 0, 0. If this 0, 0, when you filled it in, had been true, it would mean the side with 0, 0 should have been shaded. If you fill in 0, 0 and it works out to be false, it would mean that 0, 0 is not on the shaded side. The other side must have been shaded. Let's go ahead. We're going to work through another example of one of these. So in this new example, we have y is greater than -x plus 2. Notice right in the beginning that this is just a greater than and not a greater than or equal to. And this is going to become really important in a moment. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to graph this by realizing that our y-intercept is 2, 1, 2. It's a -x, which means our slope is -1, which means down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. And we can go ahead and connect these. But before we connect them, if it is just a greater than, and not a greater than or equal to, not a solid line, we will be using a dashed line. And that's how we show that it is just greater than, but not greater than or equal to. And we just put a little dashed line, and we're going to go back up the other way just the same, and it's just a little dashed line just like this. And that shows us that it's greater than, but not greater than or equal to. Watch that one. It's a common mistake. People just start off making their solid lines. They totally forget when it's a dashed line. Now it's time to shade. Shading is the worst thing that you could forget in one of these questions, because the whole point of it being an inequality is that we also have to shade the correct region. In this case, it is y is greater than negative x plus 2. So we can go ahead and know that greater than our line means above it. That's above our line. So from any point on our line, we can go up, and we end up with shading that looks just like this. Now, if we were to test the point 0, 0, would you suppose that it should be in the true region or the false region? Because 0, 0, I didn't shade it, we would expect that if we were to test 0, 0 right now, fill it into this, that it should work out and it should be false. If that 0, 0 worked out to be true, then it should be inside my shaded region. So if I fill in 0, 0, we get 0 is greater than a negative 0 plus 2. We get 0 is greater than 2. 0 is not greater than 2. So this is false, which means that that 0, 0, that origin point, is not in the shaded region. It is false. What would happen if I tested a point that we can clearly see is in the shaded region? So like this 2, 2 right here. If I went ahead and tested the point 2, 2, and I want to see if it's true or false, we can fill in 2 is greater than a negative 2. So we just filled in 2 for both numbers, plus 2. And we get 2 is greater than 0. Oh, well, 2 is greater than 0. Haha, I've been at this for a while. 2 is bigger than 0. So we can say this is true. So if you had any doubt if you were shading in the correct region, we can see that 2, 2 gave an answer of true, which means it is inside the shaded region. And in fact, if you want to test this on your own, you can pick any point at all inside this shaded region, and if you fill it in, it will give you an answer of true. And if you pick any point at all from out here in this non-shaded region, and you were to fill it into our inequality, it will give you an answer of false. So as a quick little recap, remember to check if it's greater than or equal to know if you need a solid line or a dashed line. And then if you're not sure whether you shade above or below the line and you need to double check, go ahead and test a point. If you fill in a point and it gives you the answer of true, it means that point is on the shaded side. If you fill in a point and it gives you an answer of false, it means that that point is not on the shaded side. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'm more than happy to help. Thank you very much. Good luck working on your questions.